It says we're live.
Oops. I'm glad I wasn't doing anything nefarious.
I'm glad you have your pants on.
I know, for real. Oh my gosh. Let me just
Maybe
slide in here.
zoom in a little bit.
I did not know that was going to happen. Hold on. There we go. Let me twist this a little. Hello, everybody. I didn't realize that it was just going to go live.
Ready or not, here you go. It's going to make us be on time.
I know, right?
Here, put it towards you more.
What's happening here? How's this? Well, Taigwei. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful sunny afternoon here where we are in the rolling hills of the Appalachian foothills of Tennessee.
It's really good to reconnect with everybody. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, to seeing your questions and just giving you a report of what has happened with us in the past 3 months. It's been pretty crazy.
Yes. So to give you just a little bit of background, well, for those of you who do not know us, Taigwei, Daka Kasike Naboria Mahura, Daka Boricua, Guaborican. Good evening or good day. My name is Chief Joseph Riverwind. I'm a servant chief of the Arawak Taino people. I'm of the House of the Great and Valiant Chief, also known as Puerto Rico, Borican, and that is my people. And I'm a servant of the Great Chief Cornerstone, Yeshua.
Hello, my name is Dr. Laurelyn Riverwind, and I'm the ambassador of the Georgia Tribe of Eastern Cherokee. And we are the co-founders of FireKeepers International. And you guys, we were very honored that you sent us to a wilderness survival school for instructors.
Yes.
To become instructors.
You know, one of the things that our elders have imparted to us, and actually began to impart this to us several years ago, and it wasn't just concerning spiritual matters, but things that among Native people we call when the fires come. And that is specifically a phrase that I can't really give you like a pinpoint, like which tribe originated saying that. It's a very common saying. It's an idiom. It's very much a Native cultural idiom that is talking about end times. And our elders began to approach us saying things like, we need to teach people many of the skills that we are losing and teach them to whoever's willing to learn, whoever's willing to listen, and take these skills and apply them in their lives. So we started praying about direction, about focus. We started hosting classes on land navigation, things like plant identification, making tonics, basic wilderness first aid, a lot of these things that we're certified wilderness first aid instructors, but we were also bringing people in to teach. And then Creator just told us that people are not ready for what's coming. And boy, let me tell you that
we're certified in wilderness first aid.
Yes.
But not as instructors.
No, not as instructors. But I'll tell you what, here we are even doing these classes and hosting teachings. We thought with a modicum of certainty that we're prepared. We could survive in a zombie apocalypse situation. I say zombie apocalypse because I think the zombies are already here. We see it through media and multimedia and social media and every type of media. But anyway, we found out very quickly that accomplish was put to the test, right?
I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what's about to come out of his mouth, you guys.
Well, basically the whole point of if you think you can survive in the woods,
there's a lot to learn.
Yes.
The mic is low when I talk. Thank you for telling me.
I will bring my...
We had our whole nice microphone set up and everything, and unfortunately what happened was...
I created the scheduled live using my phone, so it wouldn't let me do it with my laptop, which had the nice audio and everything. So
maybe we could bring this a little
I'll
bit closer,
tone myself down.
And then we could zoom out.
There we go. I'll tone myself down.
No, it's me. I need to talk louder.
Hold on. Yeah, but you know there's this thing called Taino volume.
Okay, is that a little bit better? Okay, zoom out so they can see you, hun.
Okay. Can I-
So,
Yay, okay. Thanks for letting us know. I'm gonna, while she talks, I'm gonna check the chat room.
so it was quite an interesting time. One of the things we want to really drive home in this video to you guys is the importance of being prepared and also for educating yourself in how to survive. And everybody is saying, we know that we're in end times, they're coming, we know hard times are coming, but what are you doing about that? Do you have a plan? Does your family have a plan? Do you have things set in place? Where are you? Have you sat down and done an assessment of what you need to learn and what you need to do, what you need to have on hand? Or is it just that nagging sound in the background of your mind that, oh yeah, I still need to do something? I just want to encourage you guys to become intentional about what you need to do to prepare, because that's what the Father has really driven home to us, is that we need to be helping people get into a place of preparation and teaching them what they need to know, because the more you know, the fewer things you have to have on hand.
Mm-hmm.
You can make things out of nothing if you know how.
That was one of the things that our Scout Week test. So for the first approximately 5 weeks, the training was it was pretty brutal because of the heat. First of all, it was at least
It got up to 107.
yeah, it got up to 107 degrees, and people, are you all able to hear us clearly, or some of you are having trouble hearing?
So it got up to 107, and it was,
When I turned it, okay, that's because the microphone's over here.
oh,
Let me turn this. Let me turn this. No. We wanted to make sure everybody can hear us.
perfect sweat lodge weather, says Scott.
Yeah. Oh, there was times where it was definitely some more stones moments there. But we were talking about the heat, 107 degrees.
I wonder if you flipped the camera and the mic was closer to me, if that would help. I don't know if it would.
I don't know if I can flip the camera and it.
So we wanted to just describe to you some of the things that we went through, and just give you an idea of what you might expect if you were having to live in a grid down situation where you had to bug out and you were in the wilderness by yourself. I mean, it's easy to watch some of those shows like Alone from the comfort of your living room. And please forgive me, you guys. Let me just interject this. Please forgive me for losing words sometimes, for dropping thoughts. I did have a head injury in this class, and so I have forgotten some really important things. And
Yeah, I think we heard the pop and the snap, but we'll save that for the rest of the end, towards the end.
I'm sorry if I lose my train of thought, but it's easy to watch it from the comfort of your house, air conditioned, climate controlled, and comfortable, location. But even just the bugs alone are, I'm not a squeamish bug. Oh my goodness, a roach. That's not me. so I don't really have a problem with bugs. But when you have a couple hundred mosquito bites in an hour, it tends to drive you insane.
Yeah, and actually they told us that one of the top 3 reasons that people quit this school is they can't handle the insects. One of the things that the heat was bad, and then the sun would go down, and then it'd be about 99 degrees. The school is Sigma 3 School. It's out of Missouri, and it's run by, founded by combat veterans. These guys they're one of the top rated schools in the country. And so basically our day consisted of taking classes during the day, right alongside other people who were also taking those sections of classes. And then when their day was over and they got to go camp out and hang out and sit in their nice hammocks and ice chest coolers or in their tents, we got to do other tasks as candidate instructors.
No tents.
No tents, no mosquito nets, no sleeping bag. Their goal was to acclimate us to our wilderness. And
my blanket for almost the whole time I was there was a raincoat. And in case you've never used a raincoat as a blanket before, it's not very comfortable. It does a moderate job of keeping you warm. And you would think, oh, well, it was 107 degrees. Why would you need a blanket? But at night, sometimes it dipped down into the, what was the lowest temperature?
60 something.
It was definitely in the 50s.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That I
Maybe
remember.
for like 5 minutes.
I thought it was lower 50s too. It was crazy that it went so cold.
Most nights it would get in the 90s. Wake up
Most
to.
what? No.
You don't
We were
think so?
apparently in a different forest than each other. No, honey.
All I know is it was hot.
It usually would get cool.
Early morning.
Okay, his idea of cool and my idea of cool are different. I get cool if it goes below my body temperature, but there were times it did dip into the 50s. So it's like you can't get very comfortable very easily.
Wake up to
Temperature-wise.
black widows sewing.
Webs over my head.
Yeah,
or
weaving
by
webs
my
by her
head,
feet.
By
and,
my feet.
But we did end up having an owl that came, and he became very friendly and acclimated to us being in the wilderness. And he'd come every night and hoot and have conversations. Even let me walk up right to the tree that he was in and shine my light on him. That was cool because he kept the snakes away.
Mostly. One of the instructor candidates woke up to the sound of a screaming mouse, and at that point we were allowed to have flashlights. So he shined a flashlight over there, and it was this snake eating this mouse. We saw a lot of copperheads. A lot of copperheads in the Branson, Missouri area.
Foxes and all sorts of stuff. But the training, so yes, it was the acclimation was crazy because we did get acclimated, and we realized it when we stepped into an air conditioned building for the first time.
We were cold.
And it was freezing cold. And I'm like, and I love the cold. I was like, man, your body does acclimate to, and that's actually a built-in survival mechanism in human beings that makes us very distinguishable from other animals in the diaspora of the world. And that's our adaptability to different environments. And we had adapted to being outside. That was pretty wild. So what type of stuff did we learn?
Well, let's see.
Trap making, cordage making, gathering.
Fire making.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a study that was done. And the results were that the majority of Americans believe that they can survive how many days?
An average of 16 days.
In the wilderness. But the majority of those people who responded with they can survive for 16 days also responded with, but I don't know how to make fire.
And we're talking about even with matches.
Yeah, like just a regular, not go out and cut a kit out of the woods like what we did and build a fire. No, this is just even having a lighter or any type of means to build a fire. So we learned very quickly, one, that if you think you can survive, definitely reassess where you're at.
If you think you can survive but you can't build a fire, you think wrong.
Yeah,
It's important. Fire is vital for life.
for Scout Week, in the first 48 hours, you had to be able to build a shelter that would withstand a torrential downpour, water, and build a fire. All those in the first 48 hours. And those three things are critical to your survivability rate in a wilderness survival situation. What else was there? So the fire, it took me 3 weeks. And we're working with cedar. So cedar is a very hard wood to make fire kits out of. And I can't, you know how many of those things we made? Oh, you know what? I got them on the doorstep.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'll bring them here so I can show them to them. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
cool. That'd be very cool. Tell them what else.
So, it's what we would do is we would go out into the wilderness, and to make a fire kit, you saw off. You basically make a bow, which you need like a green limb that's got some elasticity, and then you're going to make your hearth and your spindle.
Wait, which one? Which one are you making?
We're going to show them the fire kit.
Here's one. Here's a bow.
Oh, he's got a little bag with a lot of the things that we made, so this is pretty cool.
She says a little bag. I was like, are you
Well,
sure you
maybe
want to
it's a
bring all
bigger
this stuff?
bag.
And she's like, we made all of that.
made this
I'm
stuff.
bringing a little bag, right? Here's the little bag. Full
Yeah,
of,
it's probably bigger than a little bag.
I'm trying to
isn't
stay clear of your
it? Yeah, that.
thing there. Oh, look, there's the quiver. It's smashed now. Made quivers out of bark, although this one's kind of smashed.
I can re-wet this. I can actually soak this and reshape this. So this was one I made. A bark basket. This was made from slippery elm. Okay, here is, it's not the best example, but this is a hearth, and this is the spindle. I can tell that Joseph made this one.
I don't think I finished that one. It's kind of thick. But yeah, I think I did make that one.
And see,
Yep, that was me.
you hold this, and then you would wrap the bow around it.
We're not gonna make fire in our dining room table. I don't know if you can see that. You lift the thing up. Yeah, y'all have seen this, and then you promptly begin to.
This is one of the fire kits that, and it's surprisingly difficult to do. It looks so easy.
It is physically exhausting.
Yeah.
It is definitely physically exhausting.
But I watched at the time he was probably 75 or 80 years old. I watched my grandfather making fire the old way, and it was just so, he made it look easy.
It's
But
definitely not easy.
it's not.
So we also, we learned, the 5 weeks of wilderness training that we got also included everything from fishing to weaving those big baskets that you catch and put in the river, fish baskets, traps, spear making, making arrowheads out of glass bottles to making them out
And
of flint.
flint.
Oh my gosh, her with the atlats. Oh yeah, not atlatl. It's a Nahuatl word from the Aztec language. It's atlat. That's how you pronounce it. And so she made an atlat out of reed. How tall was that thing? I don't know, maybe like a 4 or 5 foot. She cut the end of the tip. She put the feathers on there, turkey feathers, and she flung that thing. Now we're talking like from, I don't know, that was pretty far. That was at least 30 yards. I mean, 30 to 40 yards. and she was just like, and it hit. Bah! We're like, whoa! So she was like, I will slay a deer.
But I didn't see one.
Well, we did see them, just not during Scout Week.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't see him during Scout Week.
But she definitely could have slayed it. She's dead on accurate with that atlat.
That was fun. I've never used one before that, and it's a primitive tool that's very easy. It's all over the place, all over the world. They have different variations of atlats. So.
Yeah, she was ready. She was ready. And she didn't just say, I'm going to kill a deer. She literally said, I will slay a deer. I mean, there's like some emotion behind that, right?
Well, I've always loved the idea of hunting, and my grandfather and uncle did, and I just still haven't gotten to go deer hunting, so that's one of the dreams. It's on the bucket list.
Well, so it was definitely what we called the Itchy Scratchy Show. Oh, thank you, Samantha. Bon matin. Thank you for your donation. That was really kind. That was really cool. I didn't know that did that. That's awesome. Oh. We were calling it the Itchy Scratchy Show because we were constantly itching, constantly scratching.
A lot of the things that we're going to tell you probably sound like complaining, but it's impossible to tell about what we went through without it sounding bad, because it was difficult. It was very trying. And so we're not complaining when we say these things. We're just telling the whole truth.
I'm very glad for it. I mean, I was able to break a weight plateau that for like 20 years I've been trying to get past, and I just couldn't do it. And one was my thirst mechanism was absolutely activated. I was drinking water like crazy because it was so hot. And so that, I mean, and plus all the knowledge. I mean, this school, the instructors, they're one of the top schools in the country. They also do more than just the survival course. They do, like, matter of fact, one of their upcoming courses is, what is it, the water certification?
Canoeing
Yeah, it's like canoeing.
and water rescue.
Swiftwater rescue certification.
We were going to be there.
Yeah.
Had I not broken my arm.
Yeah. So they have a lot of classes. They have classes that are perfect on the weekend for like families and stuff. But that's one of the things that we want to bring over here to East Tennessee and to all of you, not just through our YouTube channel, but also by hosting classes and to share what we've learned. One thing that really stood out to me is, and I know many of you who are watching have done survival school, prepper camp, you've got equipment, you've got the gear. It's a challenge to the men or the women out there, to both of you all. You can have the coolest gear, you can have the most expensive, high-tech, high-speed, no drag gear out there for a survival situation. Your bug out bag might be the buggiest of all bug out bags. But if you have not put that thing on and tried running a half a mile and not get winded, reassess your situation. Because in a survival situation, in the event that creator forbid anything, say for example, is happening to your family and you've got to get to them fast, you have to, that's where most of us, guys, I'm challenging you as well as I'm challenging myself to hit a reset button. Be the strongest member of your family. We have to be. And if you can't do that, put on your bug out bag. Most people haven't even put one on, and just try to walk with it. Get used to having all of that gear on you.
We might have to back up and say, get a bug out bag.
That's true too.
So when he said that he sweat so much and it reset his thirst mechanism, you were constantly drenched. We were constantly sweaty.
Yeah.
We would have maybe 30 minutes a day that we were not sticky, sweaty,
And even after we showered,
salty.
within minutes, we were already salty again.
And the sleep, if you've never tried to sleep before on a bed of leaves and twigs and rocks, you're probably much more sane than we are. And you've probably had more comfortable nights of sleep than we did.
Especially when you can hear like little critters and things
That
walk.
you have no idea.
You don't know what it is, and sometimes
what is in the bed with you.
things are like falling on your face, and you wake up thinking, "Is it
What was
like?
that?
Is it like
Is
using
that
the?
alive?
Is it using the bathroom on me right now? What is falling on my face at this moment in life?" Or you hear stuff crawling around your ears, and 70% fail rate. 70%. They've had guys that were like special forces, ranger, who couldn't make it through Scout Week, and that was very trying. So all the wilderness survival stuff that we learned for 5 weeks, and we definitely didn't cover all of it because there was a lot of information, y'all, a lot of information that this school puts out, and we're talking full days. And Scout Week comes along, and everything that we learned we put to the test with only 2 knives and the clothes on our back. And we could not wait to do that. I mean, that was really like Scout Week, Scout Week, Scout Week. We'd already lost 1 candidate instructor.
We're like gluttons for punishment.
Yeah, we're like, let's do this. We started off with 5 candidates, we lost 1, and so there was just 4 of us. And
You guys, you don't know who this person is, but the first person went out on suicide watch. It was a very difficult time. It was challenging. One of the things that it's difficult to prepare for is the emotional and mental and psychological challenge of all of these things coming down on you, being in a new environment, constantly feeling discomfort in some form or another, whether it's the temperature, your clothing, the bugs, the tasks that you're doing that you're not accustomed to. Like my hands would hurt so badly, and I don't have arthritis or anything, but it's just you're using muscles in a way that you've never used them before. I had no idea that whittling with a knife is actually a survival skill.
Yeah, because you have to carve everything. You need to carve your mallets, you need to carve the wood.
You have to carve out your existence.
Yeah, literally carve
from
out your
the woods.
existence. You hear about people, back in the day when they say, we carved out a living from the forest with these 2 hands. And it is carving out a living, literally. We both recorded videos during that time that we were in the wilderness that I was hoping I'd be able just to pop it, switch it over here, but I've got them on the iPad. So I'm gonna see if this works where I can just hold the iPad up and you could hear some of the things that were going on. We're not gonna play all of them, but we're gonna post them onto the YouTube channel.
So while he pulls one of them up, I'll just tell you that when we were going for that week, that you're alone out in the wilderness with you starting with just 2 knives, I remember thinking, wow, in these survival shows like Alone and all these things, they get to go with all this gear. They get to go with
They start off with ferro rods and tarps and axes and
bows and arrows and hatchets and all of these things, and that was not the case with us.
I want to show them. Okay, so
I didn't have, on the first night that we were out alone, I was out alone.
we couldn't share resources. We couldn't
be in the same area unless it was we happened to crossing paths in the woods.
And if the instructors or anybody caught us talking for extensive time or helping each other, or you would get kicked out of the program. Disqualified, yeah. So the only source of water was a pond or lake, pond, whatever you want to call it. It was stink water. It was so nasty. And
we're going to teach you right now, you're going to learn a valuable invaluable survival trick
Yes.
for that will go very far. If you don't know, this is probably the most important thing to do.
Water is obviously, water is life, and we need water to be able to survive. And even if you think, oh well, I can't drink that water. Y'all, in a survival situation, you're gonna drink that water, and you're gonna pray over that water, and pray that your body can handle that water.
That's not the survival tip.
That's not the survival tip.
The survival tip is called a coyote hole,
Yes.
or an Indian hole,
Or an Indian
or
hole.
a gypsy hole.
And I'll show them the video.
What it is you find a pond or a creek or a lake, some type of body of non-salinated water, in other words, fresh water, and about 2 or 3 feet away from the side, you dig a hole, and we're going to show you a video of Joseph.
And this is Laurelyn's coyote hole. She had the best one. It is day 2 of Scout Week, and I'm down here in this little tributary full of all sorts of nastiness. But did you know that you can get clean water filtered by nature? At least filtered as best as can be. How do you do that? What does coyote teach us? Coyote holes. What? So you dig a hole. This is actually Laurelyn's coyote hole. Mine's a little bit farther up. Oh my gosh. I am about to go catch a fish. And then I will keep talking about coyote holes. Oh, you were mine. So I got distracted by the fish, which I ended up not catching, but I don't know if you heard him splashing around in there. He was just like, I'm right over here. So the coyote hole, the water that comes out of it, this is a bottle of water from the coyote hole that Laurelyn made.
I don't know if you can tell, but that actually looks like the filtered one, honey.
Oh, well, no, this is filtered. This is after.
Yeah, that's after
This is
earned
after.
my filter.
I'm gonna
4
show-
days later.
I'm going to show you what she was drinking and what all of us were drinking until we earned our filters. That's what our water looked like. Yeah, that was our source of hydration while we were out there. And but again, to emphasize the difference between what you just saw and this bottle, which was clearer. That was just not using a filter, just using the earth as a filter. And explain to them how that works.
So it's what you're trying to avoid is the giardia and the cryptochloridium, all of these amoebas or parasites that live in the water. A lot of them are found on the surface of the water. That's where the highest amount of bad junk is on the top.
Yep. Catch things like Herpagonicidiclap and I mean just like all sorts of horrendous things from this pond water. It was
Oh my goodness. When you dig a coyote hole, water seeps up through the sand and the gravel, and it filters it, but it's not coming from the pond, it's coming from the underground source of water. So it doesn't have the exposure to those living organisms that are in the pond. So you're getting cleaner water as far as the pathogens, but there's still going to be a lot of dirt in it, and that's what you're seeing in there is silt, and it leaves you not feeling very quenched, your thirst not feeling very quenched, because basically you're drinking dirt and it accumulates in your mouth and it makes you thirstier.
Yeah, and it smells like fish. That's the worst part. Even after it got filtered, even after earning the filter back, it still smelled like fish. So we were able to earn certain things back based on the accomplishing of missions. So for example, if you built the coyote hole, then you earned a stainless steel canteen. If you made, it was just different things. We had one of our missions was make 6 feet of rope using stinging nettle and whatever a resource we could find in nature, and we could trade that in for 550 cord, for example. So, but the cordage made from stinging nettle is really important because one of our tests, not for Scout Week, was building a fire kit and using natural cordage for the bow drill, as all the other ones had shoelace or, 550 cord.
We had dealt a lot with stinging nettle. We have been stung a lot during that course for stinging nettle, but thankfully on Scout Week, there was nettle that didn't have stingers.
Yeah.
So it was a kind without. That was nice,
So
the fall stinging nettle.
Stinging nettle is known as the superfood of the forest. The leaves, the plant itself is 40% protein. The leaves are super yummy. They taste like cucumber. And all you have to do is you just grab the leaf and just roll it in your hands. All the little spinies come right off. And for the stems, we would run it through the fire.
Okay, that's not what I would recommend. Don't
That's
do
what,
that.
That's what I did. That's what they taught us to do.
You're gonna get stung.
I never got stung doing that.
That's because you were doing it without on the nettle that didn't have the. If you run your hands on stinging nettle leaves, it's going to hurt. But if you let it dry in the sun, they will, the barbs will eventually.
You know what? You weren't there.
Not sting you.
You weren't there when that one instructor, like literally, when we were in that whole huge field of stinging nettle, and Josh, and he's like, just take it right off the leaf, and he rolled it in his hands like this.
Oh.
And all the nettles came right off, and then we just ate the leaves.
Well, but did it sting your hands? It probably
a little
stings.
bit, yeah.
It stings your hands. That's what I'm saying. I don't want them to
But
get
you don't want it to
stung
sting
if you
your.
don't have to.
Oh, okay. I see. Well,
You use gloves.
use gloves. So that was really good. The nettle was good stuff. And here's one of Laurelyn's videos. Oh, there's a picture of you and your fish. We'll tell you that story later.
For 4 days, this is what I've had to drink. Dirty pond water from a coyote hole that I dug on this pond behind me. Yes, that would be pond scum. This might be one of the most difficult parts of this journey.
Takes me back.
Here's her coyote hole.
This is one of the 2 coyote holes that I dug. This is the cleaner of the 2.
The cleaner of the two, huh?
And that is what I would scoop this water into. Well, into this jug. Well, I have just earned a water filter. Oh, and you're about to see my first sips on a water filter. And I didn't get all the carbon air out from in here.
Looks like you're about to play some bagpipes, huh?
Awkward. Oh, that is joy. As you were sitting at your computer, sipping ice water, think of me.
it was sheer joy having ice water for the first, or not ice water, well, that was too, but having water for the first time through the filter. There's the rope that she made, the cordage.
Takes a long time to make cordage because it's not actually the twisting of the rope, it's the pulling of the fiber off of the plant.
So Samantha asked, are there any water filters we would recommend? The Sawyers, literally, they're at Walmart. It's a little roll, it rolls up, it fits right into your water bottle.
I know
And-
I know a lot of people are familiar with Life Straw, but it requires a lot of suction
Mm-hmm.
to do the Life Straw. And so we found the Sawyers a better brand, but it doesn't make it taste good. We're still in the market. If you have a suggestion of something that actually makes the water taste good, if you've tried lake water through your filter and you found, oh, this is the best, tastiest brand, please share it with us. We welcome it. So let's see.
Oh, so things were down to the wire, and the first 3 days, and Laurelyn was, how many kits did you make? So 48 hours we had to build our shelter, water, and fire, right? And you were down to like, your frustration level was beyond.
Well, I was getting close to not making it in time.
Because if you fail in those first 48 hours, you fail the course.
Well, if you fail at all,
Yeah.
you fail. But there was a time and a 2-day time period where you had to get the 3 most important tasks finished, and one of them was making fire. And it's very hard. You had to do it on cedar. It's very hard to make a fire using cedar kit because it's not the easiest wood to ignite, and if you don't have it cured long enough, if there's too much sap in there, it won't start a fire. So
Yeah.
you can work on it all you want,
It's difficult.
but it won't light. And so, and it's hard to tell if your kit's gonna work or not. And sometimes you have to abandon it and go and start an entire new kit.
Saw down a whole other tree, and first of all, find one that's suitable. Just there's all these things you go through.
And when you're at the Scout Week, you don't get a saw, you don't get a hatchet. So you're doing this with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
With a knife, cut down a big, have you ever tried to cut down a tree with a knife? It's not fun.
Especially a cedar. So you'd made it, and I could hear her. I'd walk past as I was going to the pond, and she's over there just cranking away trying to get this fire going, and just I could hear her frustration, and it was just because down to the wire. If you don't get those things, that's 6 weeks of being there for nothing. And so she was just cranking at it.
Praying and praying.
Praying and praying, for fire. And
I'm like, I just want to call down fire from heaven, and does that count?
and then finally, I saw her one of the times where she's just like, and she's like, I'm done. She I gotta away from this, and she's like, I just need to take a break, and
so
work on something else.
So I when I was making fire at the on Scout Week, I'd worn myself completely out so badly, like my arms wouldn't work anymore trying to get this fire to start, and I left and went to go gather the things I needed to make my shelter with. So I was gathering my shelter items, and when I came back to the camp, I saw a little stream of smoke coming up from the pile of my, that I had created of coal dust that from the friction, from the fire of my bow drill. And so, it was, when I saw that tiny little wisp of smoke, I was amazed, because that is all I needed. I realized it had made an ember while I had walked away. Because what happens with cedar, sometimes you just have to walk away, and it'll still continue. That ember, in order to create an ember, that dust has to reach 800 degrees. 800 degrees, and it's sitting there in a little tiny pile about
Of
this
dust.
high, an inch high, maybe 3/4 of an inch high. And as it's sitting there,
Because you have like a little piece of bark or something right here.
it has to have just the right amount of air, just the right amount of heat, and it started. It started smoking, so I babied it, fanned it a little bit more, and fire happened.
And I heard her screaming and luluing. There she is.
My victory.
She's just giving a victory shout to the creator for making fire. The Goldilocks factor, walk away.
So,
And so she made fire. She was super happy with that. Like, yay, I did it.
so it was challenging. It was beautiful.
It is day 4.
Oop.
Oh, we got another video to show you. Ready?
Oh yeah. So y'all, I'm pretty good at fishing. I mean, when I go fishing, I catch fish, and I was very disheartened after 4 days, and I still had not caught a fish, especially in this pond. I mean, it's like, shooting fish in a barrel. It's like, come on, this is supposed to be easy. 4 days, no yo-yos, no nothing. Here's my testimony.
It is day 4. And I finally got a fish! Yeah! I get to eat! Ah! Ang, 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 ang. I've been eating blackberries, sassafras leaves, honeysuckle vine flowers, passion flower flowers, stinging nettle. Finally get to eat meat. I was actually considering, I made a basket, which is one of the tasks, and I was like, maybe I'll take this basket and let those little doctor fish that nibble at your feet, and I'll just have to eat some minnows, or as they say in the Appalachian Mountains, hillbilly sushi. But no, Creator brought me fish. I will eat good tonight. Not a go, gut.
So, I was, needless to say, very happy that I'd caught a fish because I was getting very hungry. I think all total, I ended up losing about 25 pounds by the time I came out of Scott Week, which was just insane. It was good. I needed that reset. So that was me catching fish. What was popping through your mind during my fish escapades?
I was thinking, how long is it going to take for me to catch a fish? I need to catch a fish. And I spent hours every day trying to catch a fish, because that's one of the tasks that we have, is to catch either a fish or a small mammal and make it for a meal. And so I wanted to catch the fish, obviously. And it just was very difficult.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to share resources, and that victorious fish video you saw, I was in a boat. That the head instructor, when we did a walkthrough, now we didn't realize Missouri floods as bad as it floods, especially when it floods so bad that it puts a boat up in a tree. And he was telling us, he goes, if you find something out here in the forest this is survival. You can use it, repurpose it, and salvage it, obviously, but you just can't share your resources. And there was a boat in a tree. And I said, if we get the boat down, can we use it? And he's like, yep.
One person can use it, and that's the person who got it down. So Joseph pulled that huge boat out of a tree and dragged it to the lake.
I wish that
You could hear him all over, like acres and acres away, grunting, trying to get that thing out of the tree.
Well, and the instructor, when he saw me in the boat, he's like, I wish he'd had a picture of the boat in the tree before I pulled it down. But we all saw it. We all saw it up there, and it was hard getting that thing down there.
I'm sure.
But then I had a boat for the whole week.
How did you prevent it from crushing you? You must have pushed it rather than pulled it.
No, I had to pull because that thing was up in that, like, it was crazy. It was crazy. But I got it out of there, and somebody apparently Scout Weeks before had made oars, actually made paddles out of tree bark and some cedar. So I had oars, I had paddles, I had access to the center of the lake. And I think I only caught one fish out there.
That's where they were jumping.
Yeah, that's where they were jumping. So, but you, Laurelyn, actually caught the biggest fish.
Finally, on day 6 at the evening, like it was nighttime by the time I finally caught this fish.
Let me see, where's that fishy at?
And it was like my last opportunity other than if I'd woken up in the morning on the 7th day and found it.
Well, I was on my boat, and I knew that we had one more day, and I was like, I gotta get my yo-yos up, because for every yo-yo of mine that's out there, that's one less chance of a fish that she's gonna catch. So I'm out there in the boat, I'm like trying to get all the yo-yos down, and I'm out in the middle of the lake, she's over in this lagoon getting eaten up
I was
by mosquitoes trying to catch fish.
hundreds of mosquitoes eating me. It was just maddening. And I had my, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the yo-yo fishing lines that you can tie to a tree and it'll automatically set off. In some states they're legal and in some states they're not. But I had those over there and I was trying to I was checking my lines and seeing if there were any fish on it, and I was rebaiting some of them, and I hear Joseph way on the other side of the pond saying, I think I just heard something,
I think I heard your yo-yo go off.
yeah.
And she's like, what? I said, I think your yo-yo just went off.
And
Because
of
I heard
course-
it zzz, and I thought it was one of mine.
And that wasn't the only time that somebody thought I had caught a fish. There were other times, I think I heard a yo-yo go off. So I trudged over there thinking, yeah,
I see her
hoping.
headlamp. She had earned her headlamp back. I see her, once you start fire, you get a headlamp. I see her little headlamp in the dark, and I'm in the middle of the lake. And I'm like, man, I hope she caught something. I hope she caught something. And I see her get over to where her tree was with the yo-yo.
And at first it looked like I hadn't caught anything because you could still see, it looked like it hadn't been triggered. But that's just because the fish was so big that it couldn't pull it all the way up.
There's her fish. Yeah! It was at least 16-inch trout.
I was thinking 15, 16 inches.
Yep.
Yeah.
She caught and even the instructor was kind of like, he's like, I've never had to fail someone for not catching fish. He's like, you're down to the wire on this. And we were just like, not worried about it. We're like, it's all right. So many times we've taught on, and one of the things, and a lot of you who followed us for a while have heard us teach that oftentimes when we pray for something or ask for something, Creator will send you something to test that. And what's something that we always talk about is the 11, 59, 59, and 59 seconds. Sometimes it's an utmost faith test, but Creator always comes through at that very last second. And this is actually one of the words I wanted to share with you, that throughout this whole thing with survival, this is not operating in a spirit of fear, but being prepared is actually something that's a mandate for the heads of the house. All you guys who are watching, listening, and all the women who are the heads of your houses, where there's no husband or family members, whatever the case may be, being prepared is not operating in fear. In Proverbs, it tells us that the cautious man sees danger coming and prepares. The fool does nothing and suffers the consequences. So being prepared and being prepared-minded is already part of winning that battle. And seeing Creator come in and swoop in, that's Eleazar. That's where we get the word Eleazar, the Lord my rescuer. It's this picture of just swooping in and rescuing, which, by the way, is also is the word Ezer, which is the word that describes woman, a rescuer. It's a military term. It's a warrior term of a shield bearer that comes in and rescues. So, we're just like, you know what? She's going to get it. She's going to get it. Creator did not bring her out here and to go through all of this for 7 days out here and not catch her fish. And she caught it. And like everybody, you could hear the other were all screaming and hooting and hollering. We're so happy for her. So there was a lot of tests, a lot of things that we had to do during that time. There's a lot of spiritual things too that we'll share with you in upcoming teachings. Even little things like the 12, 11, 59, 59. Even things like with the fire and waiting. And who's your shelter in the storm? There was a storm that came one night. Man.
It was terrible. There were big trees that were taken down by that storm while we were out there. And I was caught out in the rain. Joseph was also out of his shelter when it started raining. And it just drenched everything. Everything. We were soaking. I was soaking. He was soaking. Everything was wet. Our clothes, at least my clothes, Have you ever tried to sleep in soaking wet? There's no towel. We didn't have a towel. I didn't have a towel to dry off on.
No, this was her hooch that she made. That's what she slept in.
My lean-to.
Or her lean-to. And when we say torrential, like the whole time we were there, the weatherman would say it was going to rain, and it didn't happen. And then, sure enough, yes, it rained, and it was like a huracan. I mean, it was the trees bending, the lightning strikes.
Oh, I gotta show you.
You got something in this?
Yeah. Look, it looks like I have a cover on my bed, on my leaves. That is a scrap of old tent that I found. It was like a wall of a tent that I found decaying out in the in the forest. And so it still was waterproof. So I put it on my bed, and that was actually a little helpful because my leaves and everything were so pokey, and it made it slightly less pokey. And that also helped keep at least my bed dry, because it blew sideways. The wind was so...
It was crazy. I thought a tree was going to come down.
It did.
Yeah, several trees came down.
3 big ones come down that we had to then climb over to go get to the pond.
I don't know what you're talking about in this one. Let's see.
Pictured directly behind me is the smoke rack that I built. It's for smoking the imaginary fish, the fish that in my mind I'm catching, since I'm not catching any as of yet with my hooks or my yo-yo fishing lines. Just going hungry. But that's the smoke rack.
So that was obviously before you caught the fish.
Had such grand aspirations of slaying a deer and providing dried venison for everybody, even though you can't share resources. We would have had it later.
So after all the training, we made it through the week. that we were actually down to 3 candidates because one of the other candidates during Scout Week, a branch came back and whipped him in his eye, and he ripped his retina. So he was unable to finish the course, so it was down to 3 of us. And the last thing that we needed to do for our instructor training was SEER, and that's search, escape, resist, evade. And that was pretty intense. Learned a lot about urban survival, and that's actually one of the things that this school is known for, where there's a lot of survival schools that teach wilderness survival. There's very few that teach urban survival. Yeah, wilderness survival, we definitely need to know, not just as heritage skills, but also just for, knowing, for surviving, for protecting our families. But very few schools teach survival in a urban setting. And so they also incorporated that using statistics, real world kidnappings, etc. So during that part of the training, they're teaching us how to get out of handcuffs and the psychology of a kidnapper. It was really, really in depth. And Laurelyn she was rocking getting out of the handcuffs, like she's done. They double cuffed her, she's out of it. They double cuffed her behind her back, she's out of that one. And they're just trying to find different ways to cuff her around poles, backwards, behind her back. And she's just like, she's using her hairpins and, little shanks and everything and she's getting out of the handcuffs. She's doing really good. And the last part of that training, we had 48 hours left. And the last part of the training, the last 2 days, it's a makeshift scenario, imaginary scenario, where you are a team of missionaries in South America. And you're there with the rich pastor's son, because it's like a mega church or something. So the pastor's son is there. There's a security guy, a truck driver, another person that does construction, and I was there my role was I was a chief of a tribe that had casino money, and I was just looking to make sure that the indigenous people were being taken care of with these missionaries coming down on this. So we're walking down the path. We get betrayed by our scout. These guys come out, guns blazing, pa 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 pa. We're the liberation of Santa Rosa, whatever, blah blah blah. Man, we get smoked, bags over our heads, handcuffed. They take our boots off, but they prepared us for these scenarios. And then that's when the tasing began, with the taser, bear spray to the face, but before all that happened, I got to rewind. I got excited with the story.
You skipped kind of an important
I
part.
skipped a very important part. And that was, rewind back. 48 hours left before we finish everything that we have been through for the course of 6 weeks at this point, not including driving time to get there. And we're doing the unarmed combat, getting knife fighting techniques. And the instructor, I was over at the door, and the instructor was walking into the dojo. And as he was walking in, the words coming out of his mouth are, okay, guys, let's call it, because he was saying he was going to call it an early day so we could prepare for the kidnapping the next day. So halfway through his words coming out of his mouth, we hear, pop, crack, and then, da-dunk, and Laurelyn saying, my arm is broken.
The pop was my arm that they said you could hear breaking in the next room.
These are dojos with cement walls.
And the crack was my head. And there was a wall with another part of a wall jutting out. And my head hit one wall and my arm hit the other part of the wall that was jutting out. And it was, we were practicing knife disarmament techniques, and I was working with another woman, and for reasons that nobody can explain in the physical realm, she did not do the what they showed her to do. she did something completely different
Went off script.
and drove me headfirst into the concrete wall.
Which, there was padding, but this was the one section of the wall that had no padding
There was no padding there.
on it at all. It was just concrete around a support beam or something. So that started the whole rigmarole of going to the emergency room at a nonprofit hospital and being, thinking that she needed surgery at the time. She's in extreme pain.
So when it happened, I remember thinking, what in the world is she doing? Like a moment before my head cracked into the wall. And the amount of force that I was delivered into the wall was considerable. It takes like 4,000 newtons of pressure to break the humerus, so my head got the same amount of force that my arm did.
And she did have a big old welt scratch. I mean, that
It
healed
wasn't
up really
that bad,
fast.
though. But the major impact was right here. And I just remember putting my hand on my head and thinking, there's no way that I'm not going to pull back and see a major amount of blood. And I hope that's all that I see.
So if any of y'all have ever thought that she's bumped her head, now you know that she has.
But surprisingly, there was no blood. And that was really miraculous that I did have memories come back to me a week and a half. I know it sounds, I read somebody said it sounds intentional. It was intentional in the spirit realm for sure. But the woman who did it feels terrible about it. And I've been in contact with her afterwards, and we're talking through things. I told her I forgive her. I've encouraged her to forgive herself. She started smoking again. She feels terrible, just all kind of things. She's very, she said she still hasn't gotten over it.
It was traumatizing to her. Even after that happened, so definitely keep her in your prayers.
But, I've asked the Lord, why did you let that happen? And, everything that goes on in our lives has to pass through the Father, right? And I have had plenty of people tell me I've done something wrong and that's why this happened. I had some people say, this is like Job, and, read the book of Job. Well, I did read the book of Job, and I wasn't willing to make the claim like Job did that I'm blameless and that I didn't deserve this. So I was just asking, I've asked the Father, and He didn't give me a straight answer about this. But I'll tell you what did happen to me. In reading Job, can you pull closer or something?
Yeah, let me try to bring this a little closer then.
In reading Job, I ran across a scripture, and the scripture says, let's see, who shakes the earth out of its place and its pillars tremble? Who commands the sun and it does not rise? Who seals up the stars? And I thought, my curiosity was piqued. What does that mean, to seal up the stars? And so I looked it up. The word sealed up the stars. Where did it go? Here we
Oh,
go.
while she's finding that, on the post edit, I'm going to up the volume. Again, our setup was completely
Okay.
flipped around before we started.
So the word for seal them, is
chatham, and one of the definitions, it means to seal, to affix, or to seal up. But in one of the definitions, it says to seal up the hand of man so that he cannot work with it. And in parentheses, it says in winter. And so,
When she read that, she's like, Joseph!
I was like, whoa, let's have a discussion, honey. When you look at to seal up
A person's arm
a person's arm so that they cannot work with
during
it.
the winter. And here we are coming into the time of the fall feast,
Well,
coming into the winter time.
but we're ending a Shemitah.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been given land so that last year we read the scripture that that says, when I bring you into the land, give the land a rest and don't plant. And so when we came into the land and read that, we gave the land a rest. And then the next year, which is this past year that we've been living in, was the Shemitah, the 7-year
Year
time
release, yeah.
that you're supposed to not plant. Well, we came into that time and said, Lord, do we need to rest the land another year? Because, nobody really knows. Even the Jewish people will tell you they don't know when the Shemitah is. They have determined to set a time to celebrate the Shemitah, but they will even tell you it's likely, the experts, it's likely that it's off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, Joseph and I prayed about it, and we were like, do we need to let the land rest again? Because we were really looking forward to gardening. And
it's part of one of our mandates for FireKeepers to feed the hungry. And doing so by planting and donating of the produce that we have here to the local food banks.
So we didn't get a direct answer about that, but we didn't feel like we needed to do a second year since we had just let it rest. And the people who owned the land before us were Sabbath keepers and feast keepers, so we know they would have been letting the land rest as it was appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the answer, though, that I think we came up with, and that is we should
We should be able to just let the land
let
rest.
the land rest, because
A double portion rest, even if we would have looked at it like that.
and so we want to repent to you guys that we did not keep the Shemitah. And we're teachers.
And some have asked, is it a Shemitah year? Is it not? And
We're held to
a higher standard, yeah.
And so, is it possible that, I'm not saying that
That
the
your
Lord
arm was sealed up.
broke my arm, but I am saying that it's possible that because I did not, that sometimes when we transgress, we open ourselves up to the enemy being able to have a right
Mm-hmm.
in our life.
And that actually answers someone else's question that said, was there other believers? As far as the last 4 candidates were believers, but the school itself is not run by believers. Another reason why we want to do these trainings and teachings, because for the most part, most of the schools are not run from a spiritually Christian foundation, Messianic foundation, any type of biblical foundation.
It's
We
not
know
a
there's some out there.
spiritually safe environment.
Yeah, so it's a very open, very worldly environment, so be in the world but not of it. Don't be surprised when you go to survival schools like that. But we want to be able to offer schools like that where you know that you are spiritually safe and in an environment that's not going to open doors that don't need to be open. So it was, we definitely felt the spiritual oppression and spiritual warfare the whole time that we were out there. It was pretty intense.
Yeah. I wanted to thank you guys, the people who have given for our medical expenses.
thank you so, so, so much. It's a
That was
long,
overwhelming, yeah.
it's a long road to recovery. I need a whole year worth of physical therapy. This is a much worse
But thankfully, no
break.
surgery, but thankfully,
Yeah.
no surgery. And the physician, actually, when he came in like bouncing and leaping for joy, that he didn't have to cut into her arm. He said, because the first hospital didn't even put a cast on her arm, they just put her arm in a sling, and it said, drive her home 14 hours.
Which was a very dangerous situation.
yeah.
I ended up in 4 emergency rooms.
Because the
Finally, in the
nerves-
4th one,
It was 3 breaks, they had a butterfly bone, and it had nerves around, the radial nerve around one of the sharp shards, and
everybody was afraid to touch it. And finally, at the 4th emergency room, they actually set my bones.
finally, that was like 4 days later, 5 days later.
It was one of the most painful, it was the most painful experience of my life. And it's something that it would have been a much kinder thing to knock me out for. But
She did natural childbirth, and it did not hurt as
just
bad as
blew
this.
away natural childbirth. But I wanted to say thank you for what you've given, and please continue to pray that that I'll be able to get the physical therapy that I need.
We do have
because
insurance now,
Yeah, but it won't cover it.
but it won't, yeah.
We have insurance now, but it won't cover pre-existing conditions. So I wanted to show you what I
But
did.
It was her idea. It wasn't just you now,
Yeah, Joseph helped me.
because your giving hearts have helped all of us.
So I don't know if you can tell, but on all these little flowers, I have written the first name and last initial of every person who gave in that GoFundMe. So you know how people sign casts? This is like my version of you guys signing my cast. And it's been 7 weeks, and I'm still in it,
And hopefully this coming week she'll come out of the cast.
hopefully, because the longer I'm in the cast, it's a very, very high risk of contracture, which is like when you can't straighten your joints out. And I can move my fingers now. Here's the update. I can move my fingers. Well,
You can see it, yeah. And I was there when she did her first workout. She's like, honey, I gotta work out and do my first rep. That was it, because she couldn't hardly move her.
now I can move my arm a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I got right now.
So thank you all so much. You know, with the added expense of having to stay and over 3 more weeks, with the hospital visit, with the doctors, your giving hearts have just overwhelmed us.
And
It's been-
sometimes it pops out of a joint
yeah.
of the shoulder.
But definitely thank you for your prayers, and as she recovers, just like she just now did, popping her shoulder back, we won't be hosting the Feast of Tabernacles, First Nations Tabernacles this year. We're gonna put that on the back burner for hopefully, or not next year, but the following year. So maybe for next year during one of either trumpets, or we were thinking unleavened bread during the spring feasts, having the same schedule that we were going to do, where we're going to teach, have some people here that are going to teach different wilderness skills, survival skills, and we could also all come together as the nations here in East Tennessee. I want to open the floor up, unless you have anything else for questions. Yeah.
And let me
And
tell
thanks
you
for being here
this.
with us so far all this time too.
Let me tell you this. We need your prayers. We're asking for prayers to help us find a groundskeeper and a way to pay the groundskeeper for FireKeeper's land.
It's
I-
come out here and turn on Welcome to the Jungle. It's
really,
a fight. It's a fight every day.
And Joseph is spending so much time taking care of me, because there's, believe it or not, there's a lot you can't do when you only have one hand.
And while we were gone, we had incredible volunteers.
I can't even clip my own fingernails.
So all the volunteers have just been unbelievable that held down the fort here at FireKeepers. Even a sacred fire was built and prayers were done every night. That fire was lit the whole time we were out during Scout Week. Thank you all for your prayers, your support. Hang in there with us. I've been a little delayed on sending out orders and getting the newsletter out, but thank you for your patience. We're going to get right back into the roll of things as quickly as possible. But now let's open it up for questions. If you all have any questions here.
What questions do you have? Pick our brains. You can ask us about
We
the
know that
training, about, whatever.
Scott says, I know an experienced tree guy. Austin's like, not welcome to the jungle. Any
I was
questions?
so looking forward to coming back from being outside all summer to going out on the land and just making it beautiful and ready for you guys to come.
And learn somebody was
Now I'm
talking
stuck
about
inside.
about their accident, and that was one of her fears when one of the doctors said if this doesn't heal right, you won't be able to play the harp again, you won't be able to play keyboard, she won't be able to do beadwork, none of the things that she could do before. So, but thankfully, in the end, for the newsletter, go to firekeepersinternational.org and just sign up for a newsletter. I promise you.
Somebody's asking how to
Yeah,
get the
we won't
newsletter.
spam your news box. I try to put out a newsletter once every 1 to 2 months, but we also do video updates on social media and stuff. But thankfully she didn't get surgery, and
But-
Creator's the one who's healing her.
But the jury is still out in the world's eyes about how much I'll be able to use this arm. We believe the Father is going to do a miraculous healing.
Which he's already been doing.
It would be wonderful if he would just do an instantaneous thing. But in the medical community, they are not expecting
Good results.
right?
But we weren't expecting good results, and look what happened. So Yahweh Rapha, he's our healer. He's Yahweh Yireh, the one who sees and he provides, and he's been doing that in amazing, amazing ways. Yes, we will be teaching the coming year after she gets some recovery time, but we will have classes starting up again coming next year. Everything, there's a myriad of stuff. I really enjoyed the man trapping classes for search and rescue.
The what?
Man tracking.
Man trapping is what I thought you said. I'm like, are you trapping men now? What are you doing while I'm like incapacitated? I can't keep an eye on him, you guys. No telling what could happen here.
It's all for the games.
My goodness.
So, yeah, that's really why we're bringing people out here to the land. So, y'all, thank you so much. No other questions? Go to our website.
I thought I saw a question mark in there, but I don't have my glasses on.
No.
Is there anything that you guys would be interested in, like, what type of format would you love to see FireKeepers adopt? Like a formal school where you get certified in things, or
weekend classes that, like, for the family.
would you like to see something like just Sundays, where you can come out on Sundays and that's the day that you practice your skills, and it be a little more informal? What will help you learn the best? Because it's not just about watching videos, you guys. That's one of the things that we learned this summer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many videos you watch. You have to practice the skill and get the muscle memory and learn what kinds of wood you can use to make different things out of and how to identify them.
Yeah, and like we said, when you watch Alone and Survivor, and they start off with equipment and with gear. So one of the things we definitely learned on this is what the best equipment is to have, why to carry what you're going to carry. We're going to teach all these classes, what you should have in a bug out bag. You know, we took things and that we ended up just throwing away. We're like, this is useless for wilderness survival. This is like that little ring axe. Have you ever seen those? Like, you can cut down a tree. It's a little two little rings, and you can cut down a tree with this. No, you cannot.
You maybe can cut one branch with it before it breaks.
You can cut down a not even probably a wax tree, but you're not.
Pencil-sized limb.
Yeah, you're not cutting anything with that except for nothing. No, nothing. So we'll go through things like that, like what you should have in your bag, what actually works.
I saw a question come up about.
Do you have a groundskeeper already but need to pay them? No, we don't. We've got some volunteer candidates, but we pray about everybody and everything, and we're.
Volunteer candidates for groundskeeper?
Oh, not for groundskeeper, no.
We don't.
No, we don't have any
We don't
volunteers.
have either. We don't know of, we could, if we had the money, we could find somebody, but we haven't searched, haven't searched because if we don't have the funds, then it's kind
Yeah.
of putting the cart before the horse, I guess.
But we do have a little cabin, air conditioned with a queen size bed and TV, and it's a little tiny house type of cabin that'll be used for the caretakers.
Yeah.
Nice and private.
It doesn't have running water and it doesn't have electricity, but we do have the solar panels. We just need to get a couple of other pieces to go to implement
power it.
the solar power.
Yeah. Oh, battery's going for some.
Yeah.
Have you
ours
made any
too.
videos with skills we can practice at home? Not yet. That was part of our plan when we got back, but we do try to video anytime we do a class. So go to our YouTube channel and check out some of the videos. There's videos like in the herbal section and some of our past classes. But for what do you mean by qualifications? I don't.
I hope our battery doesn't die.
What do you mean by qualifications?
What's the question?
It'd be really great if you guys express the exact role, expectations, qualifications for groundskeeper, and maybe made an application. Oh, okay.
So, that's a good idea, and we'll tell you now, we're not super concerned with past experience. I think it's pretty easy to, in many regards, to start as far as maintenance for the lawn and things like that. But somebody would need to be willing to learn how to ride a tractor. And so we can teach in training somebody, but they do need to be willing to learn how to drive a tractor. And be willing to understand that it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
We want somebody who loves to work, not somebody who needs to be made to work,
Because it's easy
hard work.
it's easy to get
It's
lazy
hot.
when you see how beautiful it is out here in the land and the rolling hills. And
It is?
You just want a siesta, but it just doesn't happen because it gets hot.
I don't
and
know what you mean.
You don't think it's beautiful
It
out
is
here?
beautiful, but
Okay.
it doesn't make me want to be lazy.
I'm talking about like if you're kicked back next to the stream or something, you know, you're like, this is nice here. And then the weeds come and grab you and pull you under the rocks, and because it is fighting the jungle out here. But it is beautiful as well. Let's see. Yes, we do small classes already. Well, the plan was for Tabernacles where we were going to do a week long. So like every day there would have been sessions, including things like canoeing and incorporating a lot of the local wilderness here and the waterways. But for next year, what we're looking at doing is maybe like weekend long, like 3-day, maybe on a holiday weekend, a 4-day, or during like a spring break or something, where it's still nice and cool enough to camp out and be out here and get trained.
Well, guys, It has been wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Yes, you've been here an hour and a half with us. That's awesome.
We really appreciate it. We did create this as a fundraiser, and we would love it. We would love it if you guys would consider sewing in and into FireKeepers, and let us help you prepare. We have given blood and sweat, maybe tears, if you look over the years. Yeah. And so that we can help you guys, and we want you and your family, even your kids, to be ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have discouraged us from including the kids, but we really want to make this a family event, because your kids need to know how to survive whether you're there or not. So you guys commit with us to take steps and to become intentional about preparing.
And so just continue to remember hope. Tikva in Hebrew, the root word of that word hope is the same word for rope or a cord. So remember that it doesn't even take belief, because faith is the substance. Faith is hope. You know, like I'm totally messing up the verse now. Faith is
Comes by hearing.
goes by
right?
hearing.
Word.
No, I'm talking about the substance of hope, the evidence of what is unseen. Faith is the substance of hope, the evidence of what is unseen. So always hope in the Creator, and put your hope in Him in any type of situation. And sign up for our newsletter. Come to some of our classes. Come and fellowship with us out here in the East Tennessee, Appalachian Rolling Hill Mountains. And yes, faith. It's going to be tested. It's going to be tested. End times, the fires are coming. Are you prepared? Are you ready? We're here for you. So, Seneko Kakona, Chief Joseph Riverwind, many blessings to you. Yaya Kakona Chareto Guari. Yaya's abundant blessings upon you.
We love you guys. Thank you for sticking in there, and thank you for your prayers. We're really grateful.
We'll see you soon.